That's it. We're on.
Okay, we are live. Awesome. This is a really exciting experience. So thank you for agreeing to come and chat about Tanith Lee, the Unicorn series with me, Rob.
Anytime.
I'm sure you are vastly more knowledgeable than I am.
I, I may have done deeper dives on her. I'm willing to bet that you're probably better read on her than I am because, like I said, I've discovered her late. Back in the day when before I discovered the beauty of used bookshops and thrift stores, most of the book shopping always end up at the bookstores and the malls. And
Ah,
so by the time I had discovered her, she was already the main publishers in the U.S. had already abandoned her, and so small presses weren't in those places, and they didn't have the books from before. So I would find her stories in digests and magazines and anthologies. And but it's one of those things where there's no Google back then, so out of sight, out of mind.
mm,
And then it wasn't until more recently when I was rewatching, not from her books, but rewatching uh, the old TV series Blake Seven, and saw a couple episodes written by her, and I thought, oh, whatever happened to Tanith Lee? And that's when all this started. So
well, I was a secondhand bookstore brat from the get-go. So I think my first Tanith Lee was probably actually Drinking Sapphire Wine and Don't Bite the Sun, very old
yeah,
and ragged. But in the 80s, you could still find her books new, usually on sales outside newsagents. The Flat Earth series, I think, must have been overprinted in Australia. So we used to get Knight's Master, Delirium's Mistress, all of those you would see new. But most of my books came secondhand. So, yeah.
yeah.
Anyhow, the Unicorn series, which we will be talking about today, was always a niche one, I think. Ah, yours match. Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is the first one in the series, the Black Unicorn, and as you can see, I don't know where's up and down, and a repeat sheet has demonstrated that he too did this book along here. I think my Black Unicorn matches one of the ones you've got in the same series.
I don't know, which one do you have. I have a slightly different border around mine, but I think
Oh, you do, but same
that
image.
looks, yeah, this one is this one doesn't have the border around it, but yeah, the other ones have the same image, just a slightly
Yeah.
different livery on it.
So the gold unicorn and the red unicorn is a very second-hand hardcover. I don't normally go for hardcovers, but I'll make an exception for Tanith Lee. And originally it belonged to the Hennepin Co. Library in the USA, but it was cancelled, and now it's mine. So with this series, we have got, I'm going to give an overview like we talked about. They are billed as young adult books, which I think comes down to the fact that all too often anything that has a teenage protagonist is billed as young adult. I'm not utterly opposed to it being considered young adult, but I think it's a lot more than that. A lot of young adult books that are published these days, at least, tend to be superficial, concentrate around a central protagonist, their feelings, and often their love affairs, or their personal journey. But I think that the Unicorn series, Tanith Lee brings in a lot more. In the Black Unicorn, in the first one, is that as loud as it sounds here?
That's all right.
It's all right. Okay. In the Black Unicorn, our main protagonist is Tanaquil. She's 15, about to turn 16, and she has lived her whole life in her mother's fortress and citadel in the middle of a desert. Initially, it's presented as a very isolated life. Her mother is a sorceress, and the magic leaks down from her workshop on the top floor so that water taps will randomly spurt sticky grape juice instead of water, making it difficult to have a bath. And a whole heap of other things, but it turns out this is almost a vibrant village type mentality. You've got a lot of servants, you've got the kitchen servants, you've got maids, you've got a whole heap of guards on the wall. And Tanith's main character, Tanith, is actually very thoroughly embedded in this life. She's fairly uninvolved with and detached from her mother, but she's got a lot of friends, she does a lot of things. She is known for fixing things because she's never been given a career or a goal to approach. She has to occupy her days. Now we hear that her mother, a sorceress, did actually test Tanith to see if she had any talent for sorcery, but she didn't have any, and her mother kind of lost interest in her at that point. So she wanders around the castle and she fixes things as requested by people. So she fixes...
Just to Chris, we are discussing the Unicorn series by Tanith Lee, starting with Black Unicorn.
Yeah, but we will be going through all three of them. It's just going to take me a while because there's so much. Hi, Chris. So she wanders the castle asking for things to fix. She fixes the doll belonging to one of the maid's children, and she fixes it so much that we've got this image of the child bashing the doll against the stove and the doll not breaking. She fixes things for the soldiers.
I love that, by the way. I marked that down. That's one of my most. This is why Tanith Lee is such an amazing writer. It's so casually put in there, and it adds all this flavor, but it also informs, because this is a doll that says "Mama," and the child is constantly trying to break it, and it's unbreakable, which speaks so much to Tanith's character throughout this book, and even like literally later on, of being unbreakable. When I started this and I read that line, I just kept going back and reading and going, damn, she's freaking awesome writer to just subtly put that in there. And it just flows so nicely into telling you so much about the character herself. It's fantastic.
And she does this routinely throughout everything she writes, but throughout these books, nearly every sentence is just a sentence. It's part of the story. It's the next thing that Tanith does on the walls. But they all tie together, and they are often incredibly memorable. So we watch Tanith wandering around the fortress looking for something to fix, but she's fixed everything that's broken. And she has this suspicion that sometimes the servants and the soldiers give her things to fix out of pity because she's got so little. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, what happens more or less next is that one of the wild animals in the desert is called a peeve. I've never quite fixed in my head what a peeve looks like. Sometimes it sounds like a fox. Sometimes it sounds like a capybara. I don't know. What do you think it looks like, Rob?
I'm trying to remember how it was described, but yeah, it can just this in-between character.
Anyway, this particular peeve comes in through her window looking for scraps. It asks, bone, bone. And because of the magic leakage from her mother, this particular peeve that's been living on the roofs can say individual words and sometimes even seems to understand what Tanith is saying. And one day, he brings a bone to her room, and she is mesmerized because this bone isn't a normal bone. There's something very strange about it. And she gets the peeve to lead her out to the desert where he dug it out in order to bring more back, because she says, I can carry more bones. If you show me, we can bring back lots of bones. And the peeve goes, okay. And there's this description of the portion in the desert where they find the unicorn bones, because it is the first unicorn and it's the bones, and Tanith brings them back to the house and she strings them up and she adds little wheels so the joints articulate, and she hangs it on wires in her bedroom. And then one day it's a black unicorn, and it comes dashing through the feasting hall where her mother's giving a feast to distract Tanith. And then it smashes through this huge kind colored glass window and races off into the desert, and Tanith races after her. What do you want, bird? More attention. And I'm glancing over a lot of things here, of course, because we did say we weren't going to spoil too much, and I already have, really. So we can just assume that this is about the Unicorn series. If you haven't read it, you probably want to read it first, but we're going to spoiler it. So she runs out into the desert after the unicorn, but the unicorn vanishes, and there she is running through the desert, though the Peeves followed her, and she has nothing with her except this ball gown that she's got on, and she knows nothing about deserts or travel through deserts, and she just keeps going. And a couple of times on this journey, she thinks the unicorn shows her a place to sleep at night in a cave, and she thinks maybe the unicorn helped her in some way, but she's never quite sure. It's this weird, surreal desert journey that should never happen. And I think Tanith Lee uses the desert as a background quite often in her journeys. Hello, Brian. Can I do this?
Hey, Brian.
Can. There are themes here that if you've read a lot of Tanith Lee, you're going to identify with. The journey through the desert, the individual, very isolated but unusual character, same as Sapphire Wine, same as the Claddy Journals. The peeve in this is very similar to the pet in Drinking Sapphire Wine and Don't Bite the Sun. Anyhow, this particular journey and this particular character I think are quite unique. She eventually finds an oasis where she meets up with a caravan, and by agreeing to fix the caravan's wheel, which is broken, she's given a lift to the city. She only knows of one city, and this is the city by the sea. So she goes there and she sits in the marketplace and starts fixing things to make a bit of money. And she pretends that she's a ventriloquist, and the Peeve isn't really talking, it's just a magic trick. And eventually the artificers find her and realize she's fixing everything so well that they're going to be put out of a job. They try to make her join this. A ride. It's a fantastic ride. And she was lifted out of the ride by the princess of the city, Lizra. Now, she and Lizra have this really almost instant interest in each other and attraction and a sense of familiarity. So what we've already learned earlier in the book is that Tanith never met her father and has never heard about him. Her mother won't discuss him at all. But eventually, we, the reader, realize that the reason Lizra looks so familiar is that she's her half-sister, and that the prince of that city is actually Tanith's father as well. So in the two subsequent books, we see Tanith continuing to roam through the world, but in this first one, the black unicorn is the focus. And at the end, we realize, and Tanith realizes, that the black unicorn is there because it needs something from her. It needs her to fix something. And when she fixes it, it's a gate allowing the black unicorn to go back to the world it came from. And we find out that there's a series of sliding worlds and universes side by side in this magical realism world. And the black unicorn goes back, but the Peeve runs through the gate and Tanith runs after it. So she gets to see this perfect world, because her mother has always told her that she lives in an imperfect world, not the worst, but not the best. She gets to see one of the imperfect worlds for realizing that her presence there is damaging it and coming back to her own world. So have you got anything to say about the black unicorn before I continue on to the gold?
I think we already know that I'm a shill for Tanith Lee. So what am I going to say? I mean, she's just, I obviously have not read everything even close. I haven't hardly scratched the surface of her writing, but everything I've read so far is 5 stars. I mean, I've said before how I rate stories based on characters, world building and setting, plot and prose, both the artistic and technical side of it. And I have not read anything, whether it's a children's book, a YA, or something far more adult, that doesn't nail every single one of those, and is sort of similar to how I feel about Theodore Sturgeon. She's like a master class in how to write economic prose where like you said, every sentence is doing double, triple, quadruple duty in telling you a lot of different things about the characters, the setting, the world building. I mean, it is amazing writing. And
It is.
you were talking about YA earlier, and I agree. I'm not really a fan of the term, but I don't think of YA as a genre. It's more, to me, it's like a rating system. It's like, is this appropriate for a young person to read? Absolutely. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about your child reading this. But does that mean it's just for children? No. I mean, I have not read anything of hers that has not just thrilled me beyond belief. Even when I read that Animal Castle, which is obviously a children's book, but it is so beautifully written and illustrated also. And anybody who owns a pet is going to fall in love with that book as well. It's everything she writes is like that. So yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm gushing.
Association between a human and an animal, which is very mythic, and it's very, I don't know, deep-seated to a lot of people. So that works. But I agree with the Black Unicorn doesn't set a foot wrong. Every word seems perfect. Every sentence seems well structured. Yes. It's not a huge book. Mine is 138 pages.
No, that's a quick read.
Yeah. But it's an easy reread because it's so elaborate and there's so much in it that no matter how many times you reread it, you're always going to find more. And hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. And thank you for the instruction earlier in your email.
Yes. This is the first time I've done this. It's a learning experience. Okay. So that's the Black Unicorn. And I love all three of these, but I'm going to say that the Black Unicorn is stellar. There is...
Yes.
Anyone who has arguments with it, I will die on the hill that there's not a word out of place in that book. The concepts are great. The next one is the Gold Unicorn, which, there we go. Wibbly wobbly. And it continues straight on from the Black Unicorn pretty much. So at the end of the Black Unicorn, by allowing the Black Unicorn to leave, Tanith has actually kind of devastated the city by the sea. The prince, who is her father, was remote, unlikable, and uninterested. At one point, she says to Lizra, I don't feel any connection to him, and I don't feel any need to make myself known to him as his daughter. And Lizra says, don't bother. You're just going to be another unnecessary daughter. And Lizra and him don't like each other, don't have any association. Until the end, when the absence of the Black Unicorn pretty much smashes the city. The Grand Vizier dies, and the prince goes into a decline. And Lizra is taking care of him. For the first time in her life, she feels essential, she feels needed. And while I don't think she likes her father any more than she used to, all of a sudden there's a power there in their relationship that was never there before. Because all of this series is a lot about personal relations and personal power, I would say, throughout. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the Black Unicorn, Tanith is going to see the world. Pardon me. Hello, bird. Hi. Say hello to the camera. Say chirp. She wants to go and see the world, and she invites Lizra to come with her. She says, we could travel the world together, see all the different peoples, all the different stuff. But Lizra goes, no, my father needs me. I'm staying here. At the beginning of the Gold Unicorn, Tanith has been doing that, and she's reached this city. I forgot to mention, all of these books have got gorgeous black and white illustrations in them as well. And are the illustrations done by Tanith Lee herself? No, Mark Zug.
Yeah, he did the second one. I think the first one was Heather Cooper, and the second one was Mark Zug. And I'm not sure. I actually don't think my copy of the third is illustrated.
No, it isn't. And I don't get the cover artist either. Anyway, so at the beginning of the Gold Unicorn, she's in the city and she's staying with a very nice lord and lady. And they decide as a treat to buy them all tickets to see this sorcerer's tower. And Tanith Quill is too polite to say she's got no interest whatsoever in sorcerers or their towers. So Lady Mallow and her husband, whose name I've forgotten, take her to see this tower. And in this sequence, I think Tanith Quill stands out really interestingly because she is such a firm, strong-minded character who knows herself so well. But at the same time, she deals with humanity so well. She doesn't argue. She doesn't tell unnecessary truths. So Lady Mallow says to her, do you want to go and see this? And she goes, oh, you're very kind. Oh, yes. So you get this character building completely incidentally to attempts at character building. And
I also love this, how they displayed these, the nobility and the noble women in here. I had to write down this line as two of the noble women attempted to faint. and then later on they talk about one of them fainted in quotation marks, like this pretense of, oh, this is so shocking.
That is Tanith Lee to the core. She had such a sardonic eye for humanity. It's not a nasty eye. She isn't making these people out to be stupid or anything. She's just got that eye for the absurdities of humanity.
Yeah.
Anyway, the sorcerer is called Warrabex, and he's used to putting on a show for comers who buy tickets. And as an introduction to the gold unicorn, it's excellent because it exhibits Tanith Quill as having had experience in the world and the things that she's doing and the world around her. When she leaves Lady Mallow, she's decided that she's going to go back and see her mother in the fortress in the desert, which is at the end of the Black Unicorn. She'd sent a note saying to her mother, saying, sorry, I ran away. I'll come back sometime. And she hasn't. So she's going to do that. But on the way, she's trying to avoid this huge army that is apparently marching through the lands, conquering every city or village. And actually, Lady Mallow had run away from the city and was hiding in her country house to avoid it. Tanith Quill tries, but she's in a small village somewhere, and these soldiers find her. And that's an excellent little sequence that is so subtly done, because you've got this soldier who finds her, and you know what? It's a fantasy book. A group of soldiers finds an isolated young woman in an isolated village. This could end so poorly. But Tanith escapes anything stereotypical she might do. And it's dark. And the last comment before they take her to the Empress is your hair red in the daylight? Because this subtext about red sorceress hair all the way through. And Tanith Quill says, usually. I think. So surprising no one in this dream, when they come before the Empress is covered in gold. She is completely encased in armor. And, oh, Andrea, hello.
Andrea.
And encased in armor, covered in gold in this rich tent that is the size of a city. But when she takes off the mask, it turns out that it's Lizra. And Lizra has gone, we suspect, batshit crazy. She's decided that the only way to bring peace to humanity is to conquer the whole world and force them to do exactly what she says. Because she's got this picture in her head of how everyone can be happy. And everyone can be happy if they do what she said, but she has to conquer them first. And the way Lizra explains this to Tanith Quill is just delightful, because it is essentially the way conquerors have explained their goals to people over the centuries. Only it's just that little bit absurdist, and unlike most people, Tanith Quill is too smart to be taken in.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting byplay between the two of them there. And that's when we find out that Lizra has more plans for Tanith Quill, in that the symbol of their army and their conquest is a gold unicorn. Now, it isn't a real unicorn, real like the one in the Black Unicorn. This one has been built. It's cast out of iron and gilded over with gold. And it's got artificers stoking boilers in its belly to make it march. And it rampages through these cities, and the army comes after them. Now, Tanith Lee doesn't really want to fix this thing, and she doesn't, without ever saying it to us or to Lizra, she doesn't really approve of what Lizra's doing. But her talent is fixing things, and she can't help but fix this gold unicorn when it's put in front of her. Anything you want to add to this, Rob? Because I'm talking a lot. You're not getting much.
No, carry on. Like I said, you've read this far more recently than me, so I'm sort of appreciating it because it's been a couple of years. But no, you're doing perfect.
So the way she does it is she's got these two shells that were the gateway for the Black Unicorn, and she's had them made into earrings. They're fossilized shells, and she carries them with her the whole way. One of these fossilized shells is the gateway to fixing the gold unicorn. So the gold unicorn is fixed. It's going rampaging through all these cities that Lizra wants to conquer. And in the meantime, we get this interplay between Lizra, her consort, who is the same soldier that found Tanith Lee in the village, called Honj, and Tanith Lee, because Tanith Lee, we see that she's falling in love with him long before she sees it.
Yeah.
But there's this interplay, and there's this uncertainty, and there's this discomfort. Now, it's not as thin a book as the Black Unicorn. It is 244 pages. I don't think it holds together as a story quite as well as the Black Unicorn. Sorry, Rob, but I don't think many things do hold together as well as the Black Unicorn. This one meanders a lot more, and we've got bits of the story that don't hold together as consistently as the Black Unicorn does. But we eventually go through the gold unicorn into another world. Now, the way we do that is via the mouse. So the city that they're conquering at the time is the same city that Tanith Lee visited the sorcerer's tower with, and he showed them this interesting thing that he was working on called the mouse. It's a combination of a mouse and a wasp, and the tail is the wasp's sting, and it flies. And there's a picture here, if only I can find it. It's such a cute picture. Anyhow, as they're laying siege to this city, all of a sudden the entire army is assaulted by mouses. And in the last minute, Tanith Lee, Lizra, Honj, and some of his soldiers run under the body of the gold unicorn, which seems to be the only place that isn't being attacked, and they fall through the gold unicorn into yet another world. Yes, there we go. Thank you. That's a mouse. Wasp and flying mouse. Very cute. I kind of want one. I don't think Reapy Cheap would approve. Anyhow, if the Black Unicorn came from a perfect world, the gold unicorn portals them through to what is the exact opposite of a perfect world. It is a world of war. It's a world of bleak deserts, black stones, nothing growing. Everything seems malignant and scary. And they march through this world trying to find a way to get back. Because unlike the Black Unicorn's world, the gate vanishes when they come through it. Eventually, they find the emperor of that world, and he is a war emperor. All he does is conquest. He fights every day, and the fallen soldiers fall into the mud and then are resurrected to fight the next day. There's a very good, subtle image of him toward the end of the Gold Unicorn. He has seen Lizra as the empress of war and death somehow, and he wants her to be his empress. And she says, oh, yes, and she goes along with it all, and everyone's confused. But really, she's just carrying out the same practices that she always used on her abusive father. It's like she says, men like that, you can't say no to them. They don't understand it, and they don't take it. You have to say yes all the time, and then find that one way in which you can get your way. It's incredibly clever, and it resurrects Lizra from being a not very enjoyable prototype into something else. And through her agency, essentially, they make it back from the War World of the Gold Unicorn. Anything you'd like to contribute about this one?
This one definitely is broader in scope. I think than the first. The first one is a very personal story, and here we still have that, but Tanith Lee is there's a lot of stuff on here about war and about politics and conquerors. They're dealing with a lot bigger sociological issues than what we dealt with in the first one, and that's even Warbacks in the very beginning when they're going to him to ask him to stop this empress conquering and to stop the war, and like he's like, I can stop this war, but in 5 minutes another war will come about. You have to change people. You can't change everything else is pointless unless you change people themselves. So yeah, I think this one deals with a lot bigger scope and that's probably why it feels a little more disjointed. I don't know if disjointed is the right word, but it just deals with a lot more than what the first one, which is very tight, I think.
Hi, Jake.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that part of the reason that it feels less of a tight hero's journey story, I've got no idea what my bird wants right now. Sorry. He definitely wants something. But part of the reason it feels less like one integral fable mythic story and more like a real book about real people is that you have all those different elements. You've got far more characters. You've got Honj, who is Lizra's consort, but we learned a lot about him and his soldiers, all of whom were not noble bred at all. They were all kind of from the gutters and from lower people, and they sort of clawed their way up. So you've got a lot more space for different aspects of society to creep in, because Tanith Lee is kind of outside of society. And in the Black Unicorn, she went straight to Lizra's world. So there wasn't much scope for seeing the world in general. But here you see a lot more of the world in general and people and the strange things they do. Now, right at the end of the Gold Unicorn, an event happens that leads us straight into the Red Unicorn. So having got back from the Unicorn's world, and Lizra and Honj have continued back to the city by the sea, which is Lizra's home, Tanith Lee is going back to see her mother. Unlike in the previous book or the beginning of this one, she doesn't have the same unruffled interest in the universe, the same personal understanding of the universe, because now she's fallen in love with Honj, who says that he also is attracted to her, but he can't let Lizra down, and Lizra has promised to marry him. So she's going back with all the ruffled feelings and emotional confusion that we all had when we were young and having our first love and it wasn't working out right. And that makes her a far more human character than I think she has been for a lot of this book. Mm-hmm. On their way back through the desert, she stops on a hill, and who does she meet? But the same sorcerer, Warabox, yes, Warabox, who we started the book with. He is desperate to meet her mother, and he wants her to take him home. She refuses. Or did she actually, wait, did she meet him earlier as well? He claims that he's been with her the whole way as a mouse that became her pet.
Yeah.
And that he's just been with her the whole time in order to finally find her mother. I don't really know what's up with you today. I hope he isn't quite as loud there as he is here, but he's pretty loud here.
Yeah, he was the one mouse that was following her around and leading her through the underneath the unicorn. That was him the entire time.
Yes, or so he claims. Anyway, by the time Tanith Lee makes it home to her mother, Warabox has preceded her. He got there first. He knew where she was going, and now he's there, and he's established with her mother, whose name I've forgotten. She has a name.
Jave,
that's it. Jave, Jaive, and they are fully loved up, I believe the Instagram term is. They are completely in love with each other. They are gooey. They are nauseating. Hannah Quill, who's
She's not happy about her new stepdad.
She is not happy. She's in the throes of disappointed love anyway, and they're doing things that just make her nauseous. But once again, Tanith Lee completely wins in writing this. It isn't just that they're in love and Tanith Quill is miserable about that. They're doing all these wild things that we as readers can see are not going to contribute well to their future. They have fired all the servants and sent them away. There's only 2 really old retainers, like the dementia nurse, who have been turned into young, beautiful people. They're still with dementia. And 2 soldiers that are hanging on for different reasons. But all the other people have been dismissed, and instead they are completely staffing their home with demons. These demons have been brought through from the other dimension and forced to assume pink, sickly sweet type apparitions that sound a bit like anime kawaii things. And Tanith Quill isn't there for it at all. So she's home, but it isn't her home. She isn't even back in her room. She's in a guest room. Everything is beautiful and she's miserable. She is completely miserable by the whole thing. And then, just to put the icing on the cake, the Peeve finds a mate. She notices he's staying out later. He's coming back looking really well groomed. And she actually says to him, "Oh, you're looking really well groomed right now." And he says, "Grooming," and then looks very guilty and runs away. And she finds out that he's found this lovely little desert Peeve with whom he's set up home in his old hole on the rooftops. So she feels completely and utterly alone, defeated, deserted. And I guess really here you do have a character that feels YA, which she is. She's what, 16 or 17 at this stage?
Yeah, I think she's 17 now. I think she turned 17 at the beginning of the second book. She'd been traveling for a year, I think.
Yeah. So at one point she decides to hike out to the desert and look at the arch where the black unicorn bones were originally found. And she does that. And while she's out there in the desert, she looks up and she realizes that the project that Jaive and Warbex had been planning that morning is about to come true. What they're going to do, they say, is grab a huge amount of water from somewhere else, dump it on the desert, and force it to be a lake. Unfortunately, she's where they're dumping it.
Yeah.
And we get this brilliant scene where she has all this green water dumped on it. She feels it hit her, but it doesn't hurt. And then things get really, really weird. This water smashes her down through the desert and into another world. Is it a gate? Maybe. But she's gone through to this other world where nothing is quite right the way a world should be. And this, around about now, is when the red unicorn appears. So the red unicorn in this case is never a real unicorn like the black unicorn with the material existence. It's not like the gold unicorn that's been created. It's like this misty, emotional unicorn that just appears and disappears randomly throughout. Thanks, Jake. I'm feeling better. My bird's got opinions. And she walks through this world. She works with an old woman up to the city, and she reaches the city. And once she gets there, she realizes that there is a princess on the throne there who is but isn't quite Lizra. The name isn't quite the same. She doesn't look quite the same. She isn't quite the same. And she's got Lover who is but isn't quite Honj. He doesn't quite look the same, and he doesn't have the same name, and their interactions are different. And in this alternative universe, there is a third person living up at the palace. Her name is... what is it? It's very like Tanith Quill, but it ends differently. Like Tanith. There's Tanith Quill and Tanith Kill. Tanith Kill.
Yeah.
And she is a redheaded sister to the princess, who is also in love with this person who isn't Honge. So you've got this really, really strange sequence. And I'm not too worried about spoilers, but I don't know how much of this part of the story I can really tell.
I say go for it. If you don't want any more, stop watching. And
yeah, okay. But
save
for a
for
while there, it is so good. This is one. It is the whole series together, and you might as well read it as one. It's a crying shame it hasn't been published in an omnibus. The entire series is its own thing, as well as there's 3 individual story arcs and dozens of mini story arcs throughout that are often really, really impressive. So yes, anyway, you've got this city and you've got this weird scenario, and Lizrus is different. She is cold. She's like this ice queen, and Tanith Lee is batshit crazy. She's a sorceress. She does proper sorcery things with herbs and so forth, but she's also got none of the emotional stability and self-knowledge that Tanith Lee, our protagonist, has. Now, as we go through this world, the peeve is becoming more and more human. It's talking in full sentences. It's having full conversations. It is somehow far more magical than it ever had been. And I have seen people who've read this series say that the peeve in this last book is their favorite. But it creeps up on you slowly. So Tanith Lee is writing him more and more interactive, more and more human, but so subtly that it creeps in, and we don't actually notice that, or at least I didn't actually notice that until Tanith Lee herself points it out. And it's the peeve that points out to Tanith Lee that she can do all these things. She's saying to the peeve, how can you now fly? And he basically tells her, I want to. You can too. And she can. There's all these things that she can do. She can turn invisible. So when Tanith Lee goes back to crazy, throws her in the dungeon, she basically turns herself invisible and walks through the walls. And she's wandering through this palace, looking at the different people and what they're doing and what's happening. And that's where she discovers that Tanith Lee has a plot to poison her sister so she can become princess and marry this one guy that they're both interested in. But there's a lot more to this. There's some really weird sequences like the rotten chair races. We find that this city has to have entertainment, and that entertainment every day must be different. And Tanith Lee also discovers that she can change her appearance to such an extent that no one knows who she is. So she becomes participant in some of these events. It's a very, very strange book, and the world is very, very odd, and there's a reason for that is disclosed at the end.
Yeah. And also, I believe, if I remember correctly, very vegetarian.
Yeah,
this one, where they were the wolves were attacked, but the wolves were there to eat. Was it their nuts or something like that?
The wolves, yeah. When she's first going up to the city, she tags along with a woman pushing a cart who says she's got cabbages. And Tanith Lee looks under it and says, that's actually nuts. And the woman goes, you had to say that word. And these pack of wolves come racing out of the forest and fall upon the nuts. Small ones like walnuts, huge ones like coconuts, and they just devour all the nuts. And the only time they betray any aggression to the humans is when the humans try to take the nuts away.
Yeah. It's a bizarre world. Yes, Virgil, I think you would like this very much, and I think you'd like it anyway. This is a fantastic series, and I think it's a good entry point for anybody, really.
For Tanith Lee. Though I'm biased, I honestly feel like whichever Tanith Lee you're reading is the best Tanith Lee, and that nearly every single thing that you could read will lead you further into her books.
That does seem to be the case. That's my shell's gonna test.
Now, the red unicorn does end up being sort of a spirit unicorn, a sort of manifestation of Tanaquil's. I'm going to say desire. I'm not sure that that's the right word for it, but it's a manifestation of her emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to talk too much about the ending because I've only read it once. I've only recently got the red unicorn, and I thought I had read it many years ago, but it seems like I haven't. So it's a fitting ending to the series. And I did see a review somewhere online that pointed out that of the 3 unicorns, only one of them is real, and that would be the black unicorn. The black unicorn is a real creature from another world that returns to that world. And they felt disappointed because there was only the 1 unicorn. There weren't 3 unicorns. I thought that if you look at the unicorn as a mythological symbol, the 3 symbols are incredibly poignant. You've got the black unicorn, you've got the gold unicorn, which is totally this symbol of conquest and aggression, and then you've got the red unicorn that is totally a symbol of spirit and emotion. So I think that's a really good link myself.
Yeah, and I also sort of, and I don't know, I could just be talking out my ass, but I also saw the first one as the supposed real one as being part of this perfect world, and the mechanical one being humans trying to make Lizra trying to make the perfect world in their own image, and the third one just sort of showing that in between of just following your actual desire without being trying to force anybody else, but just sort of following that, because without going into the whole relationship with Hans and how that worked out, which really sort of made me think of the Mr. Darcy relationship and Pride and Prejudice, of just that initial misunderstanding that he's trying to use Lizra and his sister, and then finding out that he's really just trying to keep her from going even further overboard than what she's doing. I just thought that was I don't know. I'm a sucker. What can I say?
I think no. I think that's a valid point, but that Honj is such a complicated character that when he says something like that, when he says that he's just trying to help Lizra, that he's just trying to keep his men together, that he's just trying to offer better options, it's not that I disbelieve him, but you can see so many other things behind what he's saying that he's also doing and thinking and feeling. So for what is essentially a bit character, you've got a lot of complexity there. You've got more complexity in that bit character than you do in the main character in Ascension, which I'm unfortunately listening to right now. You've got a character that is so complex and so layered, and we all do this. We have the reason we do something, and then we've got our own little excuses to ourselves for why we're doing something, and then we've got the excuses to other people why we're doing something, and you end up with the layered reasoning process that isn't untrue, it's just complex. And Honj very much I thought was like that as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate that she, like in a lot of YA or even in romance stories where you have the bad boy who she's going to change, and you didn't get that. You got an actual person, and I thought a much more believable romance between them than what you get in 90% of literally everything else. So
yes, and especially in the Gold Unicorn, their relationship is interesting because he's this charming rogue, and we all know the charming rogue. We all love the charming rogue character in books. But he keeps trying to jolly her along and talk to her, and she gives some of the sharpest, snappiest response ever. And she's really antagonistic towards him.
Yeah.
And because we're reading this through, and she resents him, she resents the influence on Lizra, she resents a whole heap. You're resenting not being chewing books, I can tell. But because of that slow antagonistic verbal back and forth, a couple of times he says things and she almost smiles. And he goes, aha, I almost got you to smile. She goes, no, you didn't. And so when we finally discover, or when she finally discovers that she is in love with him, we can actually see the process. And you almost never see that in young adults. It's almost always insta-love or enemy to lover. It's like, oh, we hate each other. No, we love each other. There's no build up through repertoire, I guess.
Yeah, and I see that all the time, not just in young adult, but in classic sci-fi and the vintage old pulp sci-fi of that insta-love concept. It's one of the things that always drives me crazy. I still love, obviously, pulp sci-fi, but that always like I saw you 5 seconds ago, and now you're the one for me, and we're going to get married. And by the way, what was your name again?
Yeah, I mean, I love pulp, and I'm perfectly happy reading that type of book, and I will enjoy it for what it is. But I'm going to mock it when it deserves mocking, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to give it a free pass.
There are thousands of them here, so obviously I still love it. But yeah, it's refreshing to see something like this where there are no missteps in it. Everything is done perfectly in it, and I do think that like you can read this one on its own.
Absolutely.
I do think that if you go on to the Gold Unicorn, then you better go ahead and go on and do all three, because I don't think, while this one completes a story, I don't think you're getting the full emotional completeness that you'll get from having the third book with it. So either read one or read all three. But my guess is if you read one, you're definitely going to want to read the other two.
Yeah. I'll go further. In series, I normally give myself time in between them, like Gene Wolfe, The Books of the New Sun. I'm giving myself a good few amount of time, a couple of months even, or Philip Jose Farmer's River World. I need that time to process the last one. And if I go on from the first one straight onto the second one, I can become quite critical. I get oversaturated. I want to get to the end.
Yeah.
If I give it time, the processing is better. With these ones, I put this one down, I picked up this one. I put this one down, I picked up that one. And I think it's the ideal way to read them because they are essentially an ongoing story. Like you say, this one does work as a standalone. I think I read it as a standalone many years ago. This one doesn't. There's no way you should pick up the Gold Unicorn without having read the Black Unicorn.
No.
Ideally, very soon before picking up the Gold Unicorn. And the Red Unicorn will make absolutely no sense to you unless you've read both of the other two. Not just one, but both of them.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm holding out for that day when someone gets the rights to make them into a compendium.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
If Bill Gates ever owes me a life-changing moment, that's it. You can afford to do that, Bill. I can't.
Yeah, and I know in my copies, they're not even by the same. The first two are by the same publisher, and I think the third one was by Tor. So I don't know if Tor has them in the first two, another edition, but I haven't found them if they do. So mine are...
I suspect it's one of those cases where Tanith Lee got dumped by publisher after publisher. My first one is saying it's iBooks from New York. That's got to be a subset of something. iBooks of Byron Press. Byron Press? Don't know them either. The next one is a mainstream publisher, if I recall correctly. It was copyright Byron Press. Oh, a Tor book, like you said.
Okay.
And this one is Tor as well. But it also says Byron Priest, so I don't know. Publishing with Tanith Lee is always so complicated.
Yeah, that's also one of the... I have her in two different shelves because I have all the mass marks one, but it drives me crazy because there'll be series that are split up because the shelves don't fit both size books. So, but that happens a lot with her because once Daw stopped publishing her books, then it was, like you said, it was all small presses, and small presses have a tendency to go out of business. So they would go out of business 1 or 2 books into a series, or you'd have publishers who just figured the sales aren't good enough. We don't want to publish the 3rd book. So I believe the Blood Opera was that way, where the first 2, I think, were published by, at least in the United States, published by Dell, and then some random St. Martin's Press or whatever published the 3rd one, Darkness High, and so yeah, it happens a lot. And the Piratica books drive me crazy. I had to order those from the UK because that's the only way you can get the 3rd book. They only published the first 2 in America, and then that company went out of business. And so the 3rd one never got released.
Don't you?
Yes.
You do. Hold on. Oh, goodness. My goodness. So much anger. So much feathered anger. Say hello. Say hello.
So these are.
Say hello. Yeah, sure.
These are the UK editions.
Ooh. Oh, those are very pretty.
Yeah. And so they're the being the daring tale of the singular adventures upon the high sea, presented most handsomely by the notorious Tanith Lee.
Notorious indeed. She was fantastic.
Yes. So.
Okay. So is there anything else you would like to say about the Unicorn series? Points to make other than read them, watchers. Gentle viewers, please read these books. You will not regret it.
Read them. In fact, if you have Tanith Lee in your personal library and haven't read it yet, read it. If you're out somewhere and see a Tanith Lee book, buy it, grab it. And if you don't like it, then you have no soul.
But you will also have no problem getting rid of it. I currently have 3 copies of Alphantasm, my original hardcover, and 2 secondhand ones, because if I see a Tanith Lee in the wild, it is like seeing a unicorn in the wild, and I just buy it.
Oh yeah.
If I don't have it, if I already have it, then someone else is going to want it. So it's only a matter of time. Would anyone like a copy of Alphantasm? Let me know.
I already have it.
Yes, I know you do. Right. The Red Unicorn is the one we've talked about the least, but I'm going to mention again, I touched on it before, the Rotter Chair Race. Do you remember that one?
I do vaguely remember the God, how did it go again?
So,
but yeah, I know they are trying to entertain themselves with different weird little competitions.
So the Rotter Chair Race is something that the Royals do, and right there, Tanith Lee makes sure we know that both males and females compete. There's about 50 competitors, and what they do is they have a rotting chair that they have to ride in round and round the track, and sometimes the chair just rots away while they're going. And Tanaquil has disguised herself as a lady feather and has got an invitation to go there by a different lord. And at one point, it's making this life, all of life is basically a rot chair race. And it's actually very humorous in a serious and worrying kind of way. So the rot chair race... Hang on. And she says, I like order. That's why I mend things. If life is a race of rotted chairs, I have to mend them? I don't know. That really tickled me. But as well as the rot chair race, they have other entertainments. And towards the end, you have got this entertainment where they go hunting vigors. Not tigers, vigors. And there's a lot of build-up about how the vigors are going to attack and how dangerous they are and how they're going to go through the forest and everything. Great story. But the end of that comes down to the fact that this impoverished lord who's living in the forest in essentially a treehouse becomes the guy who kills the most Vigors. It ends up being a hunt where you throw lettuces at them and they eat them. It's complete absurdist. Dr. Seuss could want to be this good.
Yeah.
But he becomes the master of the Viger hunt. And that's when they discover that in this alternative universe, that Lizra, who isn't Lizra, is actually in love with him. And she's only wanting to marry this other guy, the not Honge guy. This is getting too confusing. Because she's promised to. And so that love triangle completely resolves itself. And in echo of that, when Tanith comes back into the real world, you have this strange echo of the same thing happening. But when Tanith comes back into the real world, she ends up in what sounds a lot like a coma, though the word isn't used for quite some time because it's such a rough transition. Anyhow, that's probably the most I should probably spoil of the Red Unicorn. And yeah, it was immensely satisfying reading experience. I do recommend rereading them.
On a different subject, a non-Tanith Lee subject, I was crazy excited to hear about your story being in the Next Word Frequencies on Friday. Yes. That is fantastic. And when Jake gave the one sentence synopsis of that slot, that is freaking brilliant. I'm excited for all the stories, but I think Jake gave a one word synopsis of yours and Andrea, and I thought both of those just sound. I want it to be out now, Jake, is what I'm saying. Is I need you to let me read them now.
And congratulations, you're in as well. We hadn't talked about that before, but I'm really glad to see that you've got one in as well. So that's very exciting.
Forget that one.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, some very exciting weird frequencies coming up. And yeah, I can't wait. And I believe that last time there was a Discord server where all the authors were chatting about the books as well, and some of them got to read each other's before they started. Have you heard anything about that?
I seem to remember them doing that last time. I don't know if Jake is doing that this time. Are you doing that this time, Jake? Are you still there?
Yes. You there? Talk to us.
But yeah, I would be into that. But yeah, when Jake said the premise of yours, I thought I didn't realize what my worst nightmare was until he said that premise, and I thought, oh shit.
Well, likewise, I was so excited to see that you had one.
Thank you.
Yeah, the funny thing about that story is I wrote it. Well, it wrote itself to a certain extent. It was really linear, and it all just came out quite easily. But at the end of it, I went, yeah, that's a really weird story. It's a bit strange. It's a bit unusual. And then I sent it to Jake, and he goes, it's a horror story. And I went, is it? I don't read much horror. Are you sure? And he goes, it's a horror story. So I sent it to my sister, and she read it in between migraines. And I said, Jake told me it was a horror story. She said, Deb, it's absolutely a horror story. It's like, oh, so I wrote a horror story.
Just the premise alone is a horror story to me.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited for it. Excited to read.
The Discord that you'll tell me about.
Thanks for letting us know. It would be nice, though. I think it sounds like you all had a really fun time discussing it last time. And yeah. I think there's a lot more authors this time, though, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're at 1 hour. we should probably wrap up soon. But do you want to discuss your idea for future book club?
Oh yes, I sprung this on Deb just 5 minutes before we started the stream. So I like being able to actually talk about books and do deep dives and nerd out over the details. So basically, we're stealing our own version of Eves or Secret Society Read, where we're going to start doing a book club with me and Deb and announcing what we're going to read ahead of time. Don't know how often we'll be doing it, but so that if people want to read along, they can. And then we can have these discussions where we can just spoil the crap out of everything and either rave about the details or rant about what we didn't like, depending on the book. But so I'm excited. We haven't come up with a name. We haven't thought of a name, Andrea. Give us your suggestions. Ominous Archives. Okay.
Now that I've actually finished, now that I've actually figured out how to live stream, we've got a live stream we were going to do, Andrea. Different archives.
I'm all right with that.
Okay. Working assumption, Omnivorous Archives. Spoiler heavy. And do you have a first book you'd like us to read?
Well, I don't know. I thought that maybe you should pick the first book because there's probably a better chance that I might have the book in here somewhere in 6,000 books that I've got in this house. So if you have one, what's that?
Red as Blood.
Red as Blood? I just saw it. Where'd it go? All right.
And which you sent to me and which I've already started reading. I've already posted a couple of short reviews of short stories, and then when we've both read it, we can get in there and spoil the nitty-gritty of it.
But Rob, you have nothing to read. We have to go shopping. This, I don't know if you can see this. This is a book haul video that's coming up, but that's only part of it. I've already tried to film it 3 times and I gave up. And then there's 3 boxes down here because I have no self-control whatsoever.
Do any of us have self-control when it comes to buying books?
It's ridiculous.
Me?
This is hold on, let me see if I can find it. I think I already put it somewhere else. This is how ridiculous my buying is getting. I bought Shirtless Bear Fighter. It's a comic.
Looks like with no flaws. I don't know what you're talking about.
What's that?
That looks like a plan with no flaws. I don't know what you're talking about. Where's my... I raise your bar.
Pirates too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a kid's book, but I'm really happy with it. It's really fun.
Well, I'm always, our household is down with anything pirate, so that's a whole nother section of the library is Pirates and the Highwaymen.
I do have a book acquisition video coming up sometime this month. I've been trying to hold off. I've been staying away from bookshops because in June I'm going to the UK and I expect to be able to find a whole heap of books that I really can't find in Australia. I'm probably going to visit Zardos Books with John, the sci-fi book scavenger. We might be stopping by another bookshop as well. So I expect to have overweight luggage on the way back. And I'm trying to hold off on books now.
Yeah. So at some point
That is
there, I need to film that again or try to film all that. I don't know. And then I've been talking about it forever, but I swear, people, it's going to get done. Is I have collected or reacquired every book from the first book I ever read all the way to my 18th birthday in the exact same livery and covers that I originally had. I still have the first book I ever read that I learned to read on.
wow.
So I'm in this. I feel like it's a unique situation. I don't know if anybody's up. I know the first sentence that I ever read out of a book, and so I'm trying to put together a video because we moved around a lot as a kid. I sort of have a pretty good idea of how old I was when I read each thing. So I'm trying to put that together, but I can never seem to make anything easy on myself. So
That's a very big ask. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the first thing I ever read was because I learnt to read over my parents' shoulders while they were reading me The Hobbit and Wind in the Willows as bedtime stories.
yeah, this was
Yeah.
it was a book that it's been in our family before I was born. It was my brother who's 4 years older, so it was a book that got, and my parents bought it at a used a garage sale or something. So the book is from the 1940s and called Safety for Sandy, and it is being held together with tape, and it's barely discernible on the cover as a book anymore. But it is the original book that we had. And then I have the golden books, all the scholastic books that either me or my brother had, all the way up through when I used to go to the mall with my $2 allowance to go find books at the local bookstore. Even the magazines, the old Starlog magazines and Cinemagic magazines, I have all of those. So basically, if I read it on paper and we owned it in our house, I've reacquired it.
I
The only
feel
thing
very humble. I would never be able to do that.
yeah, even books that were my dad's that I probably shouldn't have been reading at the ages I read them, I have those. And the only thing I don't have is books uh, that we would check out from the library or things like that we didn't actually own. I'm sorry, I missed that. What when you complete it? Oh yes, I've already the first line will be the author quote. When I open up my videos with an author quote for that video, it will be the opening author quote will be the first line that I ever read in printed form. It's not deeply philosophical.
But it is deeply impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a book club. We've got a book club name. We've got a first book to read. We don't have a date, but that might have to wait.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole Monday worth of chores waiting for me, so I think I might have to call it quits.
All right. Well, thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
I'm sorry I made you do all the work and do all the talking, but
no, I can talk about books. I'd have no problem talking about books. I tried desperately to limit my talking about books, but I could go for hours, and I will. Okay, thank you to all people who joined us for my inaugural live stream. Now all I have to do is figure out how to post it to the channel. That's going to be fun, but I hope it will be there. And
it should automatically go. And
go.
I said it should automatically go there.
What? Oh, cool. Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for chatting, Rob. And absolutely do it.
Yes.
And have a great day. Bye.